Hello and welcome back to part 2 of how to get started with permaculture. If you haven't seen part 1, I recommend you watch that first and then come back and see this video. So today we are going to continue to talk about how to get land, what all to check in the land that you're buying so that you can actually go ahead and make the right choices. So, buying land is all about making choices and trade offs. There is nothing known as a perfect piece of land. So, let's talk about some choices and trade offs that you might have to make when you get started with your permaculture project. One of the questions we are asked often is, should we get small acreage near the city or should we get large amount of land far away from the city? Because land close to the city is more expensive, so you cannot afford to get a large parcel, but land in the hinterland will be cheaper and you can. Now that really depends on whether you plan to live in the village all the time, whether you have any business in the city at all or not, whether you need to travel to some places from time to time for work or other reasons, or you're actually quite okay to be in the farm for 30 or 45 days at a stretch. The advantage of having a smaller piece of land close to the city is that you can continue to have dual careers. You can probably still keep a job in the city. You could be a consultant and travel if need be. You can actually target the audience in the city to sell your produce, have workshops, have training sessions. So those are really, the two advantages. And more likely than not, your village farm is likely to be a large-scale farm which produces a lot of food, whereas the one near the city might be a smaller one which is mostly a vegetable growing farm and also makes revenue from other things like workshops, training programs, visits, and things like that. One of the second questions we get asked a lot of the time is, how do we make a choice between soil which is great but the rainfall is not too good, as opposed to a lot of water but the soil quality is not too good. So firstly, to build good soil you do need water. So I would be surprised if you found great soil without water. But if you do find that, I think water is really of the prime importance. So do pick an area which has a good water source, and I don't mean just a tube well, but even good rain or a stream going nearby, or a pond, because life starts with water. And if you have water, you'll be able to harvest it, sequester it, and really regenerate your property. So I would say you can fix bad soil, but you cannot fix lack of water. So the choices that we made were, we used to live in Mumbai, but we also knew that we are not going to live in Mumbai forever. So when you know that for a certainty, it didn't seem right for us to start a project like this, which takes decades to build near Mumbai, because we would have left that city eventually. So we found it easier to set up a permaculture project closer to Chandigarh, which was our hometown, a place where we thought we would finally want to come back and live. And the short-term trade-off was that we were not close by. We had to do remote supervision. We had to put a team in place to manage this. And maybe we didn't get high amounts of productivity in the first few years because we just restricted our efforts to water management and tree plantation. In fact, even today, we've just now started spending time here on an extended basis, and I'm talking about 9 years into the project. And now we are actually looking at the land and saying, okay, let's start converting it into productive spaces. And we're actually, carving out gardens, beds, fields, and starting to convert that into productive land. So that was our trade-off. Yeah, I think there is no choices to be made between a humid tropical area or a pleasant mountainous area. I think we are all creatures who like to be in a place where we find a sense of identity, find a sense of community, find a sense of belonging. And wherever you get that sense, you should choose to go and live there. And everything else you can work around. You won't be making choices of leading all the years of your life in a place just based on soil and water and other things. So I think there has to be a feeling of belonging. You should feel connected to the land, to the community, to the people there. And then you can make your own little permaculture paradise no matter where you go. So, how much land is enough? That's a question we get asked very often. And having managed different amounts of land over the last 9 years, I would say that if you're looking to run a family farm, probably 3 acres is, I would think, manageable, sufficient, fairly productive. You will be able to grow almost everything you eat, barring perhaps grains, which you can easily buy organic grains from the market, but you should be able to really grow everything else that you need in fairly large quantities. So I would think 3 acres is a very, very optimal size of land. If you have an idea in your head, if you think that you can restore and revive a piece of land, give back to the planet, and really work ethically on the land, then there's nothing known as too much land. So, whatever you have, it's more important to work with it ethically rather than just have too much land. So one of the things that I tell everybody I meet is that if you have any land in your family, whether it's ancestral land, inherited land, land that maybe your parents or you yourself have bought sometime, please, please, please reclaim that land and do something productive with it. Grow a food forest, because when you grow a food forest, you're not only providing food for the future generations, you're also sequestering and saving water. You're also cleaning and purifying the air. So you're actually not just annadata, right? Not just a provider of food, but a provider of food, water and air, which is basically what we need to survive. So you are doing the ultimate service to humanity and to the universe by growing a food forest instead of a chemical farm. So is it important to test the soil quality of the land before you buy it? Well, the jury is out on that. We didn't do that. We never tested the soil quality. In fact, I've still not tested the soil quality. And just the other day, somebody was asking me, like, what percentage of organic matter do you have in your soil? And I said, I don't know. And frankly, I don't care. And the reason I don't care is because I am going to continue to do what I am doing today. Whether the organic matter in my soil is like, 0.5% or 2%, it's not going to stop me from continuing to build the soil, continue to give it humus, and continue to, give it organic matter and, bacteria and fungus and all the things that I do anyways. So it's not important to test the soil. It's important to work on the soil in an ethical manner so that you keep building, strengthening and restoring the soil year on year. Well, if you're purchasing pre-cultivated land, it really depends on what was cultivated there before and whether it was done organically or whether it was done with chemicals. So I would say if you're getting pre-cultivated, chemically cultivated land, then probably you might not want that. It's better to start off with a piece of land which has never been cultivated, because at least it's not contaminated with harmful chemicals. But if you do manage to get pre-cultivated land which has been grown organically, then I think like you've hit a jackpot. If you manage to get that, then that's really great, because somebody has already built the soil fertility, done a lot of work, and you can just sort of strengthen it and further work on it. So I think you should check for chemicals or no chemicals, which is more important than cultivated or not cultivated. Okay, so if you had to just keep a few things in mind when you were getting down to buying land, I would say check the title of the land and make sure that you're paying for what you're getting. Ensure that the land has been fenced up before you take possession of it. Make sure you've done some price benchmarking and paid what's the right price for it. After that, from soil, water, trees, I think if you have good soil, good source of water, some trees already, it's great. If you don't, do not worry, because with permaculture you can restore and revive any piece of land. The most important thing is for you to feel a sense of connect with that land, because you will be looking after it for many, many years of your life. And you should feel at home, peaceful, happy, and in a state of bliss when you reach that land, and that's really what's most important. So good luck to you. I really hope that you manage to find a piece of land that is just for you, where you can do your bit in reviving the planet, bringing the greenery back, purifying the air, harvesting some water, and growing nutrient-rich, good quality food for yourself and your family. Good luck and all the best. So thank you for watching, and I hope this answers most of your questions. If you still have a question that I've not answered across both part 1 and part 2 of this video series, then do leave your question in the comment box and we will try to make a part 3 to answer some of those questions. So thanks for watching. Do subscribe to our channel and also share it with other like-minded people. Thank you.